Wes here.
I'm Rebecca.
And welcome to day 16 of SHOCKTOBERFEST 2023. Today we're going to be doing something that's pretty fun. Fun for me for the most part, because a lot of times when I've been big on comic book movies, I have enjoyed the origin stories. And what better way for SHOCKTOBERFEST in the horror movie department than to do an origin story of one of a classic characters that we have grown to love for decades, if not centuries. Today we're going to be talking about 2014's Dracula Untold. So those of you that are familiar with the Dracula story, Dracula was a man known as Vlad the Impaler, and he was a savage warrior, fought many armies, and unfortunately one day he gets attacked and becomes a creature of the undead. In this story, when he is attacked, he's given 3 days to make sure that he does not bite anyone or drink blood of another being. Otherwise, he becomes a vampire forever. During this time, the Ottoman Empire is coming around and taking the boys from his land to become soldiers and slaves for their army. Well, Vlad, aka Dracula, has a son that is going to be taken away, and his wife does not want that to happen. And as he is developing these supernatural powers, he is trying to destroy the Ottoman Empire, and in the midst of this, his wife is murdered. And while he is holding her almost dead body, she basically persuades him to drink her blood and to save their son. He does this, and in the midst of it, he goes into a violent rage, grows an army of vampires to destroy the Ottoman Empire. However, in the midst of that, they start to turn on his son, and he doesn't want that, so he basically brings out the light in the world and burns the vampires, including himself, to get his son to safety. And as that happens, an old man that sees him prior to this, that tries to get him to drink the blood to turn into a vampire, cuts his wrist open and feeds him his blood in order for him to survive for many, many centuries. That's pretty much the origin story in a nutshell in this adaptation. Now it's time to talk about what we like and what we don't like about the film.
This is a movie that's a little bit more my style, personally. I liked all the special effects. I liked that twist at the end, because you knew it was coming while you were hoping it didn't. You could see it coming. I liked the old gypsy man trying to be his servant. That was fun. Even the words that came from the original vampire or creature, like, there's a lot of power in it, and I liked a lot of what they had to say, and I liked the concept of he did all of this for not just himself, but for his country, and more importantly for his son. And it really sucks that his wife passes in it, but ultimately he saves his kingdom, so to speak, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you say at what cost. When it comes for what I like about it, I'm going to agree with her for the most part on that one, because in the lore of Bram Stoker, a lot of times we look at Dracula as this more sinister, more conniving character, but yet when you look at this backstory of Vlad the Impaler, yes, was he a savage warrior? Yes, he was, but he also was fighting for his land, and why he had to do what he did definitely brings into that sympathy and empathy, because we don't know, as people in human-based setting like real time, if we could make those sacrifices. That's a slippery slope for a lot of us. Depending, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. It's
even as much as he tried to not drink and save his own soul. Like, I don't know if I could do that. I love you, but I don't know if I could do that.
I understand that completely. Another thing that liking the cast alone was great. I mean, everybody in it gave 110% and just made it what it was. I mean, me alone personally, one cast member that stands out more than anybody. I mean, I'm not taking away from Dracula or anything like that, but Dominic Cooper playing the leader of the Ottoman Empire. I love Dominic Cooper in a lot of things, and oddly enough, another movie that he is in with vampires is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and I love that movie too. And I mean, he just has this range that he can be lovable, but he can also be an asshole. And, you know, what better range could you have? Now it's time to talk what we don't like about the film. Becca, why don't you start this one off?
I don't think there was a whole lot about this movie that I didn't like, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I don't really like the twist endings where it's not a happy ending, because that makes me sad. But overall, I think this is a really good, very well done film.
Fair enough on that. For me, as much as I was bringing up on my end about the sympathetic feelings towards, you know, Dracula's story of why he became what he was, the moments of the old gypsy trying to offer the blood, or his wife persuading him to finally, you know, succumb to becoming a vampire, I don't want to say it's predictable, but at the same time, it just seems the persuasion or the temptation story, it has been done, and in this situation with a character like Dracula, of course, somebody is going to be tempted to become a supernatural being. It's just, in the pacing when it happened, eventually it just kind of became that moment of, somebody's going to tempt him. Somebody's going to tempt him. It's just, you could pin your watch to it. You could time it perfectly of when it was going to happen. And I didn't hate it. It's just, I kind of was just like, oh boy, here we go. So yeah, that was
Maybe that's why I liked it.
Oh, you say tomato, I say tomato. Is what is. Okay, now it's time to grade this film. I'm going to let you take the reign on this one.
I'm going to give it an A+.
A+?
I really like this movie. Like, this is one that I would watch multiple times, and it's one that I would even go out and buy the DVD or the Blu-ray myself.
Well, I mean,
Lucky I have a copy.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do a unanimous A+ on this one. I mean, I know that I kind of made that comment about the predictability of the temptation. However, that's not going to sway me enough to be like, okay, this really screwed up the film for me. I mean, the story alone, it gives a lot more insight. If it's not necessarily accurate to what Bram Stoker had written before, or anybody prior to that, any idea, it's a fresh concept. And it's not just a horror movie, it's not just an action movie. I mean, just with everything going on, it's considered an epic movie. I mean, I very much like within like Greek tragedy or something like that. I mean, it's an epic movie. And I recommend that you all go get yourself a copy as well. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you leave a thumbs up or leave a thumbs down if there's some things that you may not agree with us on. Otherwise, make sure you share on social media, but most importantly, push that little red button, and don't forget to ring the bell for instant notifications. Until then, I'm Wildman Wes.
I'm Rebecca.
And we will see you tomorrow for day 17 of SHOCKTOBERFEST 2023. Take care, and as always,